A very, very, very warm good evening, my lovely, lovely mascots. This is a session unlike none another, and for the very first time ever in my teaching career of more than a decade, I am slightly nervous because I have somebody who is phenomenal and who owns the industry that they, work on or that they kind of operate on. This is a lecture which has never ever happened on YouTube, and with extreme pride, extreme privilege for the best students in the country, my dear Vedans, my dear mascots, my dear Biotonians. I have somebody super duper amazing for you. आपके लिए आज के lecture में जो आने वाला है is going to be something which will totally change your life. All that I ask for you is to wait with us till the last moment because it's going to be a big reveal towards the end, and wait with us till the end because the next 45 days of your life, I promise it to you, it's going to be transformational. आपकी life में you would have never ever experienced anything as wonderful, as amazing, as phenomenal which you're going to experience right now. So with that, let me first introduce them and then I will have the honors to welcome them onto this esteemed platform to make sure that our platform dazzles even more with their presence. So letting you all know about them and the kind of phenomenal work that they do, which left me spellbound also for the very first time. जब मुझे इनके बारे में पता चला था, when I came to know about Antano and Harini, trust me when I say this, I had goosebumps and I was totally star struck that क्या ऐसा भी कुछ possible हो सकता है. And since that time I've been in touch with them. I wanted them to come on our platform and help students because you are the real treasure of India. You will lead us forward and we must work to make sure that the future of India is secure, is bright and shining. So आगे बढ़ते हैं, मैं आपको Antano and Harini के बारे में कुछ बताती हूँ. So Antano and Harini are passionate about something which is referred to as modeling geniuses. So we have a genius and then they have the ability to be able to create multiple geniuses and bring those unconscious patterning to everybody. The genius patterning. There is something which I read when I was around 4 or 5 years back, which is referred to as neuro-linguistic programming. So they've been endorsed as two of the finest neuro-linguistic programmers in the world and have been given an award of honor by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment for their impact in the society. Antano and Harini have been pioneering human predictive intelligence, the science of shifting life outcomes. I've read about them. That's something which could take you a decade, which could take you 20 years in doing. They have the innate ability to be able to do it for you in 2 years. So imagine all the problems of yours, your procrastinations, your inability to study, your inability to focus, your lazing around while studying, money nahi kar raha padhai karne ka. Imagine in today's lecture if you could overcome all of that and you could actually fall in love with studies, and that is the aim of today's lecture. They have orchestrated some outcomes considered impossible for families, for schools, hospitals, individuals, businesses across 120 industries. Oh my good lord, that's phenomenal. The research, the pioneering work that they do is called as excellence installation technology. I think a word that they've coined and they totally own that word. In according to the Forbes magazine, वो आपने पोस्टर देखा होगा जो मैंने आप लोगों के साथ शेयर किया था. It is $1 trillion industry and is going to impact millions of people. So with extreme pride, extreme privilege, and absolute my utmost pleasure, I welcome on behalf of the entire family of Vedantu, Antano and Harini. I'm so honored. I'm humbled by your presence. Thank you so much for taking your time out and to help these kids. I'm sure they will be left transformed today. A very warm good evening. How are you? I'm sorry, but we cannot hear you. Okay. Yes, please. Once again. Yes, we can. We can. We can. I'm sorry, but we cannot hear you. No, we can't. No, we can't. My earphones. I'm sorry. No, we No worries. Whenever we have somebody super amazing on our platform, this happens. It's just a good luck symbol. And then we get over it in the next 1 or 2 minutes, and then the lecture is flawless. So I'm sure we'll be able to do something. Voice is not coming in the session. Can you hear my voice? Hamid, Shabana, Amrut, Anushka, can you hear my voice? Okay, we can hear my voice, but we can't hear your voice. No, we cannot hear you. They can hear. No, you're on mute. You're on mute. You haven't unmuted. Earphones? Anyone? You, I'm sorry. We'll have to catch hold of Asif. Can you please come and help us here? Uh, by the time, I must tell you, you both look a striking couple together. I can't take my eyes off you. You look really nice. I like the background. I like everything, but the fact that we are not able to hear you, and I would love to do that. I yes. No, now it's fine. You can hear us. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes. Kids, can you hear them? Just give me a yo on the chat section or gotcha on the chat section. Can you hear us? Yes, yes, yes. Perfect. Sounds good. Sounds good. So I think there could be a little echo. What I'm going to do is when you guys are going to be speaking, I'm going to mute my camera off, my mic off. Yes. So over to you. And once again, let me take the utmost honor, extreme pride and privilege in welcoming you. I'm sure this has never happened ever on any educational platform. And given the reach of Vedantu and given the kind of phenomenal work that you do, and I mean it, I totally mean it, I am humbled by your presence. Let's leave the kids transformed and spellbound. Over to you. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Sure. So, um, as Vani said that this is the first time we're actually coming live on an educational platform because we are one-on-one people. Even if we have large gatherings with like 2,000 people, we still have a team that works one-on-one, and all our work is one-on-one. Because the human brain for each person is wired so differently, and you have to help someone transform. It's very simple. It can happen in minutes. As long as you know how is their brain specifically wired and what will allow them to enhance that outcome. So, because of COVID right now, and also because we stepped upon the work that one is doing here with Vedantu, and it looks amazing. And maybe there is a chance that even if we can't do 100% of what we do when we work one on one, even if there's a tiny portion of what we have achieved with people, if that's possible for some of you who are watching today, I think it would be a great outcome. So, in this call, we want to share with you about three secrets, maybe, or three things that I think we have learned about the human brain.
Lovely.
So yes, Vani.
I said lovely. Okay, now before I'm sorry to interrupt you, just give me 10 seconds. The kids have a problem. They're not able to hear you loud and clear. So I think, yes, Asif, if you can increase the volume on my side also, let me see if I can bring about a little change and maybe.
Okay, so apparently the students are not able to hear us loud enough.
Hear us, but not
loud enough.
not
So,
sufficiently loud.
so hi. I'm just doing a voice check. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Vani. Are we sure that the volume is loud enough this time and sufficiently loud? It is. It is. You want to do a quick check of your voice to Harini?
Yeah, just checking if my voice is loud enough as well, because it's important that you can hear us really well. To both of us? Amazing. Great.
Okay, fantastic. So one of the things that I want to discuss with each person today, and I want to really see if we could take what we do on one, specifically what neurolinguistic programming has discovered, and what Harini and I have really found working with so many people one on one. Like, I was working like as a chief technology officer when Harini met me, and one of the things that Harini did was she's a playback singer, so she sings for movies, she sang for Rahman, and one day she invited me to one of her concert, and she said, hey, would you like to just come watch? And I went there and I was watching the concert, and this is a music academy, and there's like a lot of live performances going on, and she's owning the stage, being a performer, and she's the audience is in spellbound, and she's like just floating across the stage like a butterfly. But every now and then I saw something that was interrupting her, which was she would come and stand near this lyrics book and she would read the lyrics. And I'm like, why does she have to do that? How wonderful would it be if she could just move around anywhere? And then I meet her after the concert and I ask her, hey, would you like it if it's possible that you could remember lyrics so confidently that the next time you perform, you never have to carry that lyric stand around? And and Harry says, like, is that even possible? Because most singers do this. There are two types of people. There are singers who remember, there are singers who don't. And most times it's written in stone, right? Because even when I was a child, I stumbled upon neurolinguistic programming because I was a chess player, and I rarely went to school. And when I went to school, my friends would teach me what the teachers taught them, and they would say it once, and I would remember it for the rest of my life. I could go back and, remember it very easily. But then I saw my friends who couldn't remember things. Now, what was surprising to me was that they were students who couldn't remember things well, but when the grades changed, when they grow up, when the teachers change, when the subject changed, suddenly they seem to have a memory that they didn't have before. And there are students who had good memory who suddenly seem to have lost it. So I knew that there's something going on which is more than just hard wiring. Like, it's not like, an eagle and a vulture are two different birds. An eagle has to eat live food. Vulture eats dead animals. They're hardwired. But when it comes to learning, intelligence, and human beings, it appeared like these things are not written on stone, that these things can change with time. So I wanted to understand what's going on. Why are people able to do things differently? And that's how I started exploring all the books I could get on reading. Like, I read so many books on psychology, and there were things that were profiling people. And most of the profiling did the exact same thing as a vulture and eagle, like putting people into this box or that box. But I knew from experience that people can change, people can learn, people can evolve.
And they can change in minutes.
And they can change in minutes, yes.
And I read that when I did a lot of research on you. So let me tell you, I've been kind of stalking you for over a year, and I totally went through all your videos, and I remember this when you told her that you would not have to remember it, and
Yes.
after some time she didn't really have to remember it. So guys,
Yeah.
my dear children, that's absolutely true. Now imagine if the same thing can happen. You have so much, these children that we're talking about, kids who have so much to remember. You see, right after high school, these are kids who want to become doctors, most of them.
Yes.
And you're getting hearts and hearts. You should look at the chats. The amount of love that you all are receiving, it's phenomenal.
Wow.
And these are kids who have to remember books and books and books and books. And imagine that lady right there who you can see has performed on stage. She's a very famous singer, and she's performed with A.R. Rahman, and you don't have to remember songs. And I've never been able to remember the song my entire life. But yes, that's. I'm sorry, I felt like interrupting, but it's again over to you. Please take us through this beautiful journey. Yes.
Oh, thanks for enhancing the conversation. So one of the things that I realized back then is that people can change. But the question was, can that change? Does that have to take many years? And even if people change, they're changing naturally from one grade to another. They didn't go to a counselor. They didn't go to a therapist. They didn't go to a brain yoga person. It just happened naturally. So is there a science to how things change for people naturally? And I stumbled upon this book called Frogs into Princes. It's an interesting title, right? It's Frogs into into Princess. And the book kind of gave the structure of how people remember, how people think, how people process information, how people communicate internally to themselves that has an impact on them. And very soon I was able to help my friends in my school to remember things better. And many years later, I'm working as this computer geek, who's programming things like a chief technology officer in charge of a large team at a very young age at 23. And then there's a playback singer. So from her perspective, he's a computer geek. And I'm telling her I can help you remember things. And she's like, wait, I'm not a machine. I'm not a computer. It's not like you take 18 GB and then put 16 GB there. Yeah. So the interesting thing is it just took 45 minutes. And then the next day she went there and she performed. And she performed so flawlessly without ever. In fact, she forgot to take the lyrics book with her. That was the beautiful thing.
And these were not even songs that I'd known all my life. I had learned. In fact, I was called into that show like 1 week before the concert, and I had to learn like 10 new songs. They were different languages, foreign languages as well as Indian languages, and they were not even my own playback songs. They were absolutely new songs, and I learned them all. And I didn't know what to expect, just that I went on stage that day because, for like the hundreds of concerts that I'd, performed before that, I would never forget to take my lyric stand because that's the first thing that I'll put in the center of the stage. Because, there are thousands of people, right? You don't want to forget, you don't want to goof up. But that day, it almost felt like it was a choice made by my subconscious mind to leave that lyric stand behind and just show up. It was a very profound moment where, it's like a part of me that's that's like saying like, trust me, it's going to be okay. And I just started to sing. And after every song, I would pinch myself to, hey, I didn't forget one word in that song. It was, I remembered it and I just learned it like in a week. And that had never happened in all of my career put together, right from my school days. So it was really profound. So I went and told Antano, is this some kind of magic? Is this some voodoo? What did you do? Like, is this like a 24-hour validity or is this actually going to last? But he said,
here. So, the very first time children I saw it, I thought it's magic. And I thought, there are so many people who say so many things. But I'm sorry to say that, but yeah, the very first time, I was like, I'm not sure how is it even happening. That, how can something like this happen? How can you go on a stage and how can you not carry your songs and how can you perform and not goof up? And I was like, okay. It was so difficult for me to digest. And also coming there, I just liked something which you just said, Harini, if I can just pick it up from there and tell you, for my kids as well, and even for adults like me, more than anything else, it's our own self-doubt. That's something which I could pick up from your statements. You see, we may be able to do it, but sometimes it's our own mind game, it's our own self-doubt, it's our own cage that we build around us that prevents us, that kind of incapacitates us and doesn't allow us to fly. We do have the wings, and if it's people like you, magicians like you, sculptors like you, chisel out, do it. So I think the kids can really benefit from it. So yeah, so over to you again.
Yeah. So in fact, that's the secret number 2 that I wanted to share about self-doubt and how a lot of things that are in the self-help industry and the techniques out there kind of work exactly opposite in helping you have that self-confidence instead of self-doubt. So I think the exact strategy that I used with Harini to help her remember may also be useful for some of you on this call. So I'm going to share that at the end of this call. I'm going to go through 3 secrets. And the third secret I'm going to share is the exact technique and strategy that allowed Harini, one of the technique that allowed Harini to remember those lyrics really well. But before getting there, I want you to understand how the brain works. I know you're all medical students, you're learning for NEET, so you probably know something about the physiology already. But I think the brain and mind together is a hardware and a software. So when we talk about, this is secret number 1, is that when you talk about memory, and very few people talk about this, and as doctors, you need to know this, that when you talk about memory, that there is a physical component to it. Memory is not just in the mind. So when you go to YouTube and you say how do you boost the power of your mind? How do you increase the subconscious ability? You hear a lot of these things, but the reality in the transformations that we've done for people indicates that there is, these days you can get cheap EEG devices. You could actually see what's going on in the brain. And one of the things that's coming up again and again in studies is that memory is both in the mind, but it's also in the brain. And so till the age 8, everybody knows it's a no-brainer that the brain is continuously changing and developing. But what we also know today is that even when somebody is age 80, there are new neurocortical pathways and there are new neurons that get formed in the brain. So the growth, the regeneration of brain cells don't ever stop. And the more physical capability you have for regenerating these cells, for growing new brain cells, the more you're likely to remember. So, there's a point in your life when you started to write and you did one stroke at a time. And when you did one stroke at a time, your entire conscious attention is there. To write A is 3 letters, B, and then you put another letter, and C, you remember that. But you keep repeating it for a while. What happens is it becomes on autopilot. And when it becomes autopilot, what really goes on physically is that you have a new neurocortical pathways, a new set of neurocortical pathways that are formed that get activated whenever you want to write an alphabet. So in the initial stages, when you're writing an alphabet, it's not a dedicated physical unit. But while you keep doing that again and again, it becomes a dedicated physical unit. So then it becomes an unconscious activity. You don't have to put attention on, do I have to have 3 strokes for A or does Z have 2 strokes? You don't have to do that. It just becomes automatic. And you all have this experience of taking something that is so conscious and then it becoming unconscious over a period of time. Multiplication is like that. You may not remember the first 10 exercises that you did to remember multiplication, but it's become so automatic. If someone says what's 2 to 10, you just know that number 20 pops up. You don't have to go through the ritual again. That's when you have dedicated neurocortical circuits that are developed in your neurology that kind of help you to do this. Now, this is not just true about memory. This is true about any new skill that you want to learn. Vani, are you still able to hear me? Because I see your screen frozen.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Beautiful.
So recent studies show that any skill, when people learn new languages, when they learn drums, when they learn music, there is physical evidence, and people can today take isotopes and send it into the brain, and can check the configuration. And there's enough evidence that whenever there is a new skill that is being developed, including remembering new things, there is always an indication of actual physical structural change. And Dr. Amen, actually, in his book, has mentioned how the quality of your brain. Now, remember, we're not talking about the mind. We're talking about the brain, the physical brain. The quality of your brain, the structure, the physical cells that are active and inactive changes based on your emotional needs. So the first thing, if let's say I'm going on a race, okay, and I want to go on a race. I want to go on a race, and this is a car race. It's a rally. Now, one of the deciding factors, yes, how good you're a driver is very important, but equally important is, do you have a race car? And let's say everybody else has a race car, but then you take your domestic car, you take your Maruti or your Hyundai, and then you go into a race track, you're not going to be able to race. So the physical capability to race is a car that you need. That is a fast car. You need that car to race. In the same way, when people are in competitive exams, the most important thing is, do you have the physical capability? Is your brain conducive to learning? Does it have the right brain juice? Does it have the right brain chemistry? And now all of us are born with the super sports car. But by the time you take it to the track, maybe a tire is missing, maybe the engine is not oiled. So the secret number 1 is you got to get your brain back into its optimal health. And you don't need supplements for that. Yes, Vani, you want to say something?
No, I'm so blown away by the way you explained brain and mind. And trust me, I'm saying that on, let's say, national television or live. I come from a medical field. We've been told that your brain stops growing after, let's say, you don't grow any more neurons after 3 years of age, and that's so detrimental to our own. It's such deep conditioning, deep
Yeah.
rooted at another level, and that's so in a way, it's like that's it. It's kind of even, and you know how beautifully you said that you use the word skills. So kids, please listen. And there are only hearts. I've never received these many hearts. They're like big clap. And Harleen, I'm before I forget, they've been requesting you for a song. They're so, and 17, 18, 19-year-olds going all crazy. And crazy in the sense that it's just absorbing like me, and like it's just so phenomenal the way you separated mind and you separated brain, and you told about the physical evidence of it. I hope everybody's able to understand. And then how you told that every single time we even aim for a skill, we may not be able to develop. But even the intention of trying to upskill yourself, or the very fact that you're trying to upskill yourself, could also have a physical evidence left behind.
Yes.
And so lucidly you did talk about synapses and connections, and I'm so glad. And once again, over to you. Yes.
Okay, so you want to add something to this point, Harini, about the physical brain and the emotional connection to it?
The fact that it's unbelievable in all the work that we have done, that we have seen, even a person physically starts to look different after a certain set of installations that we do. And so let's say somebody is afraid or they're stressed and all of that, it tends to have an impact on how they look, what they're able to remember, what they're able to think, what they're able to retain. And so, like Amno said, it is so important to ensure that the car, the supercar that we all have, is actually a supercar when you're putting it on the track, on the racetrack. And we're going to look at what are some of the components that tend to go missing for people, and how do you fix it, how do you polish it, how do you chisel it, how do you get it, how do you test it in a way that when you put it back on the track, you're sure with 100% certainty, because you don't want to take a risk there, right? You don't want to think, you don't want to be in a position where you're afraid if like a tire would like just flip off while you're on the race. You want to be absolutely safe and certain. So what's the bulletproof checklist to get there?
Yeah, so you want to get the supercar on track, which is here your super brain on track, and the race has begun, right? So unlike a racing event where you have the luxury to take the car inside, we're having this conversation in the middle of the race. But unlike a car, and this is where I think the mechanical metaphors completely fail, is that unlike a car that cannot auto upgrade while the race is on, your brain, your neurology can upgrade right now while in the middle of the race. Yeah. So the secret number 2 that I want to share is that there is a connection between your emotions, your sleep, and how ready this brain is. Okay, so let's say you are having a bad morning and you're fighting with your father that day in the morning, or your friend. In the evening, it just takes a few seconds for you to get out of it and get back focused into studies. Not a big deal. But let's say this keeps happening for 6 months. It keeps happening for 1 year. Your brain structure has already changed. So now it's not just a matter of breaking the state, not just the matter of watching a movie or just jumping up and down. You have now allowed for your brain to be less optimal physically than it is. And it is going to take time to repair and get back to its full form. So the secret number 2 that most people don't understand is sleep. Is you are looking at a sports car that's getting upgraded in the middle of the track. And you can't do that while you're awake. But your neurology has an automatic system to upgrade that while you're sleeping. And see, there are times, the first the first miracle that brought me into this work is when there was a guy called Funny Kumar. Like, I'm happy being an IT guy. I just did something with Harini. She enjoyed it, but that was it. It's like a toy, you know. I like helping people. And for me, helping people gives me joy, like how for some people playing tennis gives them joy. But I got dragged into this field of work when I saw something, when I witnessed something, and I felt like now I need to take this to the world because it's so powerful. And what really happened was there's a guy who's an IIT graduate and he's 24 years old and he's having a fantastic lifestyle, fantastic career, picked up by one of the top analyst company, taken to the US. And he meets with a car accident and he goes through a C5 fracture, and doctor says that he's going to be quadriplegic for the rest of his life. So they fly him back on an air ambulance.
And beneath his neck, there were no movements whatsoever. He was completely paralyzed beneath his neck, no movements, no sensations either. And he was, like Anu said, flown back to India in an air ambulance and said he was going to be like this for the rest of his life.
And he writes out to me saying, can you help? Can you do something? I want to get back to my full-time job. And just that request like shook me because wait, helping someone remember is one thing, but helping someone who has whose nerves are cut, what can you do? So I started studying all the people who have done this because I said, if I may not be qualified to help him, but there's somebody in the world who could. So I wrote to legends, I wrote to people who have done incredible work. I said, can you help me with this? And I started studying. And one of the things that happened was John Grinder, the creator of NLP, said he'll mentor me through the time to help him with this. And I came across an important study which showed that people can develop something called as neuroplasticity, which is the neighboring nerves can do the function of the nerves that are damaged. And the interesting thing, this was the key thing to me, is that it said nobody knows why it happens for some people, and for some people it never happens. So the entire work that we did with Funny Kumar involved a lot of storytelling and metaphors to encourage neuroplasticity. And when I met him 3 months later, he had movements. And the success of my work with him was the fact that I could notice those minor micro muscle movements that everybody missed because for months he didn't have any movements. And then I was able to use that, help him retrain and get back his movements. But what is amazing to me about this story is that if neuroplasticity can happen for a nerve that's cut, the only nerve that is required, if it's cut, and still some other nerves can take on the function, you have millions of neurons in your brain.
Wow.
And so it doesn't matter if until this moment you feel like you haven't developed a memory. It doesn't matter if you felt like emotionally you had been down for 10 years together, you're in depression, and then half your brain, even if evidence shows that, through Amen's method, that the brain is physically changed, it doesn't matter. Because your brain has the ability, one, to regenerate, but even the remaining part that is active already has enough potential and power in it to regain whatever is necessary for you. I mean, if it can happen for someone who's paralyzed, memory is a simpler thing to happen. And since then, we have done so much work around this area, and I can without a doubt tell you that the best way to get this is having a meditative sleep. So I'm going to clarify a little bit of what I mean by meditative sleep. Okay, so I said this in 2011 when I first observed this phenomena. But my background with meditation is I was a chess player. So when I used to go to chess tournaments, my first chess tournament, I was state second. So I was a natural at it. And when I finished that tournament, there was a mysterious man. He appeared from nowhere. Nobody knows him. Nobody has heard of him. He said, "I want to train your son," to my father. And my father, like, "Who are you?" And then, he said, and he says he only teaches few students. He handpicks them, and nobody's heard of this man. So my father makes him play with all the trainers and teachers over there, and he defeats all of them. And then he says, "I'm going to train your son." So we are thrilled. And he says, "But one condition." And we're like, "Okay, what is it?" First of all, he says he's going to teach for free. So we're like, "What is his condition?" And he says, "Your son has to learn yoga and meditation with me." We said, "Okay." So he made me wake up at 3:30 a.m., 4 a.m. every day, and I did meditation. I did yoga. And the meditation that I did was looking straight at something for hours together, and you don't know that hours has went by. You feel like it's 5 minutes, but hours have gone by. And by the time you're done with the meditation and you look at the chessboard, you're seeing 20 moves ahead when you could only see like 3-4 moves ahead. Your brain is so active. So I firsthand experienced the power of meditation. Now, what is brilliant, what is so lovely about the human brain and the way we are designed as a species is marvelous, because sooner I realized, especially after learning neurolinguistic programming and helping people get changes, a lot of times I would put them into a deep sleep. And when they wake up, they would wake up as a new person. And in the beginning, I thought, it's just because you help them overcome the limitation and stuff like that. But over a period of time, I became capable of observing my quality of sleep. See, today you have machines to do this, but you can also develop the ability to know the quality of sleep. And once I realized something very important, which is not everybody sleeps the way I do. I realized that different people seem to be sleeping different ways. And not everybody sleeps equal. They may all sleep 8 hours, but they may not necessarily get the same impact that they get from that sleep. And for me, one of the biggest revelation was, if you get the right kind of sleep, the next day in the morning can just feel as active in your mind like the hours of meditation that I did in my childhood. So these days, I don't do the meditation that I did, but I go into what I call a meditative sleep. So when I wake up in the morning, I have solutions, I have answers in the first 1 hour. So sometimes my blogs takes 3-4 hours for people to read, just read it. But I write them because they're like mini books. I write them in 1.5 hours. I wake up, I go, I write it. My podcast takes me 15 minutes to record. I wake up in the morning, I go, I record. So that's the level of productivity you're talking about. We're talking.
It takes us hours to read them.
Yeah, it takes hours to read them. So generally what takes like weeks for people to write, I do it in like 2 hours. And then, it's so fast because the thoughts are so.
Related to the REM, NREM sleep that you're talking about, the meditative sleep, something like that. Could you elaborate a little more?
Yes. So REM is a particular type of trance that happens for everybody during the cycle of sleep. Now, it is one of the stage of a full cycle sleep. And it happens for everybody when they are not, emotionally blocked. But more importantly, what I'm pointing at is, let me give you an example. So in the recent days, we started helping corona patients. And, because there were a lot of people in our network who are doctors, and they said, some of the patients are not responding to medication. What can you do? And we started helping them. The interesting thing was, some of them were sedated. So what work can you do with someone with their mind if they're already unconscious? It turns out that when people are anxious, the anxiety, the fear, the nervousness, the stress goes into their thinking even when they are sedated. So you could
establish the quality of sleep in the next day.
That affects the quality of sleep. And for these ICU patients, it was affecting the quality of recovery. So we were able to get through to their unconscious mind, and we were able to change the emotional state that they were going through. And doctors were able to immediately see the recovery changing for them. Now, that's true for your studies as well. So you may go to sleep and wake up, but the emotions that you felt through the day, your unconscious is going to play them through the night. And if you weren't in a high emotional state, you're not going to get that meditative sleep that we spoke about.
You might get good sleep, you might sleep well, but it's not the same as the meditative sleep that Anna was talking about. So one of the important things to do is, how can you, and that's something that we do with installations, is help people overcome these states of fear, anxiety. What if, like, what if this doesn't happen? What if that does happen? The tense of all the tension of anticipatory loss and the nervousness. And what if I forget? Oh my God, there's so much to study. There's so much more to do. I had planned to do so much, but I only managed to cover so much. What about? And these kind of thoughts, these kind of emotions are real, and these emotions as well have a physical component, and they really take a toll on the body. It produces unuseful hormones, and the states in which it puts the body into is like that of high stress, and that much longer to actually be able to have to get into good quality sleep.
So there are some people who sleep and what they get is a reset the next day morning. But there are some people who sleep and what they get the next day morning is an upgrade. So for me, I think what is important is the secret that I want to share with you is that it'll be great if you can go to bed when you're not feeling tired.
When you're not feeling tired.
When you're not feeling tired, yeah. So a lot of people, they need to feel tired to fall asleep. And I think one of the greatest gifts you can have for yourself, a greatest skill you can develop for yourself is what I call state choice. No matter what happens, you can be in charge of your state. And sleep is a form of state. So you're still feeling energetic, you're still feeling fresh. If you sit, maybe you could do so much work, you could study so much, you could maybe chat with your friend, relax, do whatever. But you know that you want to sleep and wake up in the morning fresh. So you're able to hit the bed and fall asleep in a matter of minutes. And if you could do that, you could easily be in the category where every sleep is an upgrade. In fact, one of the strategies that I helped someone who had a really short time, this person was going for a competitive exam and he had not prepared until the last 15 days. So one of the things I helped them with, or strategy that I gave him, was because we were able to take care of his sleep, we were able to take care of his emotions, is, take the entire book and scan. Now, some of you might have already heard that, Vivekananda, for example, could photo read a book, which is he could actually just flip through the pages and then if you ask him about something that is in that book, he could actually tell you what is in that book. Vivekananda could do it with precision to page numbers. We've helped some of our participants being able to tell you the concepts in the book with precision by flipping through it. So it's fundamentally possible. It's not a myth. There are people in the world who have demonstrated that they can do that. So at a particular heightened state, when both the brain is full and complete and the mind is in the right state, it's possible for people like Vivekananda to remember a book by just going through it once. Now, what is the closest you can get there? You may not be able to do what Vivekananda did, but you could get some essence of that. And one of the techniques that you can use is you take the book before you go to sleep and go through each page. And one of the techniques to do while you're going through each page is using a defocused look. For example, let's say, there's an object over here. And if I look at that object, it's a focused look. The thing with the focused look is it pays attention to the colors, the texture, all the important details. But if I look behind this finger, if I were to put my attention here, then I get a defocused look of my entire hand.
Where in that one look, you're able to see the entire thing at once. You're not reading it word by word, but you're like looking, little back, and you're placing the book in front of you in a way that the entire book is visible to you at once. It's a defocused look where
you're not looking into the nitty-gritties, you're like looking at the whole at once. You're kind of scanning it.
Yeah, you're looking at the whole page as if you're scanning. Yes. And then your mind is empty at that time. So, and you're in a meditative state, you're looking at the page and you flip through it and then you close it and go to sleep. This is very important that at this stage you go to sleep before you're tired. So you're looking at the page, you're flipping through and you go into sleep and you wake up early. And here's the key. Before you open the book, ask yourself a set of questions. Do not ask what's in the book, do I remember? Do I remember is a bad question. It does what we call as regression. So instead ask, what is this book about? What are the chapters? What does this chapter talk about? So when you ask that quality of question, you would find that you're able to retrieve an information from your unconscious mind that you didn't know you had even registered. Because you're looking at a defocus, you're not even focusing on it. In a neuro-linguistic programming terms, you call this a transderivational search. There are certain types of questions that can retrieve access, even if you consciously do not have access to that memory, that imprint in your brain. So the important thing is when you wake up, you're not asking, do I remember? Not even inside your head. That's a wrong question to ask. It shows that you don't trust your unconscious mind. So instead, I've met a lot of people who actually, the first time they wake up in the day and say, oh, another ugly day. And then they like take a paper and then say, today is going to be amazing. Today is awesome. Oh, I have to write 1,000 affirmations. Okay, today is the most brilliant day. Yeah, 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 yeah. Now they can do now they can do 1,000 affirmations like that. But what matters is what was the first automatic message that came out. That's the real affirmation, not the 1,000 that they write. So you have to train yourself so that you're asking questions that can retrieve information. What's in this book? What's in this chapter? What's the most important set of things this book has explained? And when you ask that question, even though you haven't read the book, you might remember some aspects of it. And then now you start memorizing what's in the book. You'd find yourself doing it at much rapid speed because you already learned it unconsciously once before you slept by scanning through it. You have bridged what is the unconscious to, in between the conscious and unconscious by asking leading questions that bring something out. Now, when you're reading the book, you're going to read it and learn it at a much, much, much faster speed.
Wow, this is phenomenal. Why did we not discover you when we were in high school or when we were in 12th grade? So I'm just trying to link what I already knew with what you told me. I believe that the theta mind is real. I've heard so much about it, I've read so much about it. So that's the mode which you get up with in the morning. So if you have a meditative mode of sleep, you do have that early morning forecast. Like I read about Carl Jung and all these people, and they talk about deep work and focus. So maybe that little time in the morning can give you that time to get an edge
Absolutely.
over everybody else. And,
Yeah.
And also, what I do info from you is that invariably, unconsciously, what we do auto-suggest
Yes.
makes a difference.
Makes a
And
difference.
then
So,
it cannot be overridden by the suggestions that we do later on.
yes.
Yes, so that unconscious auto-suggestion is
Yeah. So let me give you an analogy. Let's say I have a friend, and I know this is my friend. Wherever I want to go, he's going to come with me. I'll go and ask him, hey, do you want to go to the beach today, or do you want to go for a movie? But let's say it's a stranger. I don't know if this person is going to come or not. I'm going to go and ask, are you going to come do you want to hang out? Do you want to spend more time with me? So there's a difference. So the first example is what you call as a presupposition. You're already assuming your friend is going to come with you. You have a deep belief that your friend is going to come with you. In the second one, you have to confirm with him or her that is the person interested to come with you. Now, what happens when people say, I believe I'm confident, I believe I can remember, I believe I can do this, is people who naturally can remember and can do don't say these things. So the presupposition over there is that you don't believe you're confident, so you're saying it. So in essence, it starts working against you when you try, instead of it being an auto suggestion, when you try to consciously say it, it starts working against you. Like, why would someone, let's say I absolutely know I'm going to top the exam. Let's say I saw the future and it says Anna's getting 100 on 100. Would I go and tell myself every day, I'm going to get 100 on 100. I'm going to get 100 on 100. I'm going to get 100 on 100. The people who say that are the people who don't yet believe you must have heard of placebos already, right? There are people who go to a doctor and then they get this water injection or they get the sugar tablet and then they get cured. Now, what a placebo does is it does an unconscious belief change. They think they have got the medicine. So deep within, there's an unconscious shift in their belief that this problem is solved. And it's worked even for placebo, even for cancer. In a double-blind study, there's no condition where they don't do double-blind study because there's a certain percentage of people who respond to water anyway. And for a medicine to be proven effective, there's a category of people who respond to the medicine must be more than the category of people who've gotten cured by a placebo, which means there is a category of people for any given disease are able to get cured with a placebo. And what a placebo does is it changes the belief. It makes a person unconsciously believe. So there's a difference between believing externally and a deep rooted unconscious belief. So when you have a deep rooted unconscious belief, you are going to get 100 and 100. You're not going to be saying, I will do this, I can do this. It comes from within. When someone asks you about, hey, how was your NEET preparation? You're going to talk about, you're going to talk about what colleges you prefer. You're going to talk about, what you want to do as a doctor. So this is called presuppositions in neuro-linguistic programming. Yes. You go beyond the endpoint. When you run a race, you don't stop at the end point, you go past that. So, a way to implant unconscious beliefs is you start imagining and dreaming about life after having achieved what you're confident about.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. So you don't like, and this kind of decimates what life coaches tell us all the time. Because what do they tell you all the time? Oh, keep shouting, keep writing. But today you told me something which is phenomenal. You said, no, don't do that because that in some way is going to limit you.
Yeah,
Because
that's going to
if it's
presuppose you're unconscious. You're not already that.
yes, and if your deep-rooted unconscious belief is already there, you go one step ahead and you imagine, and
Yeah.
maybe even verbally speak out what you would do once you've already achieved.
Yeah, that's where your focus is. So if I have a friend over here who I know is going to hang out with me, I'm not at the stage of, hey, do you want to hang out? I'm already asking, would you like to have Chinese today, or would you like to have, Indian?
So lovely. So if I want to be something, let me already start talking about the impact of
After that.
what it will be when I achieve that. How can I actually impact people? How can I actually change rather than me achieving that thing and saying it loud? Oh my God, this is phenomenal. This is so liberating. More than
It is,
anything else.
Vani.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And
Literally doing
what I
it.
really like about you, Vani, is when I saw your videos, I really felt that you would be able to take some of this message and you would be able to say it in Hindi in such a way that actually reaches the heart of the listener. So I could do whatever I could do. I could be one of, term like one of the best in neuro-linguistic programming. I mean, people could come from all around the world to hear me tell stories and a life could change. But at the end of the day, I'm still conversing in English. And there are children watching this. When they hear you say it in their mother tongue, it's going to go straight into their heart more than anything I could do. So I'm so happy that you're on this call and you're so happy with this message, because I feel like there are two audiences here. One, the children, and then the second is the children who are not here, who are going to hear the message through your own language.
And you know what I'm going to do henceforth is I'm going to use whatever you've given me today in every class of mine. It won't stop here, and that's the beauty of having you here with me because I'm impacted. And when I am in every single class of mine, because I feel that I've wronged them in a way. Because till now, we used to tell them, okay, you want to become a doctor, put that poster in front of you and tell yourself that you are a doctor, say that to yourself every day morning. But now I'm going to tell them that you've cured people, you've healed,
Yes.
and move one step beyond. And I've always been fascinated by neuroplasticity. I'll bear my heart out to you. I don't know why. Once very long ago, I was talking to the founders of Vedantu, and we were at that particular time wanting to make inroads uh, into wanting to do something for young kids. So I say that to my friends and family very often, that someday when I have my own kids, or someday when I have the ability to be able to have children that small, I would want to do something which is phenomenal for kids that age, because I read a very nice book called The Range, and there is something which is very nice about bringing someone up with the right kind of conditioning. I've always wanted to work in my life with people to make sure that whatever conditioning is wrong, we somehow are able to remove that and put the right conditioning in there. And that has to start at a very young age. And that has always been an area which has fascinated me. Like I deal with adults, 11th, 12th, 13th, but my real love lies in the ability to be able to make a change in doing the right conditioning, not wanting to reverse condition them. So I remember when we were having this foundation with this lecture with my founders, I told them that I'm sure what Arjuna's child did he did hear what was happening in his mother's womb, and that's the time that he could go and Chakravyuh. He could do that. I said, and they were looking at me. They're like, you teach bio and science, and what are you talking? I said, no, but I have this innate belief that we are so receptive when we are young. But I'm so happy that you broke one of my barrier, that we're not only receptive then, we are very receptive now as well.
Well, yes, yes.
And neuroplasticity has again been something which I'm very fascinated by, because I believe that it's our mindset which makes us believe that nerves don't grow and regenerate. With the right kind of thing, they can. And you prove that, yes. It's so fascinating, so liberating, so empowering and enabling for me as well. I'm so glad.
Lovely. So,
At this point, it also reminded me of a little project that we did for A.R. Rahman a few years ago. And so one of his visions was, we have so much talent here in India, and I want to have a full-fledged Western orchestra here, because every time he's to record an orchestra, he's going and, he's flying and getting the best orchestras in the world. And he's like, can we not have a world-class orchestra right here in India? And you know what he did? He went and adopted a school of underprivileged children all the way from 8 years to like about 15 years. And he got like the best of teachers. He got like violins and violas and cellos and double bass and amazing teachers. These kids used to come in the morning before they used to go to school, and they would get free music education, free food. But one of the pain points that Rahman mentioned back then when we were talking to him was that they've been learning, they're dedicated and all of that, but somewhere it feels like it's going to be a really long road ahead before they can actually become performers. Is there anything that you can do to shorten the time that it takes for them to become performers? And somehow, Anno and I felt like, give us 6 months and we'll show you something that you're going to be incredibly proud of. And turns out that 8 months from the time we took them up, he officially launched them as a Sunshine Orchestra. You can look them up on YouTube and things like that. Now, we worked with, and the beautiful thing is we worked with the first batch of kids, and now there are like batches after batches, like years after years after years. But now they have the first batch of kids that we worked with as well as the reference, as the benchmark of what is possible. One of the things that we noticed when we were working with these kids that was a showstopper for them to be able to actually become performers was, deep down, they didn't believe in their heart that they could become a musician. They always thought that, okay, I'm from a really difficult background, it's like their mother is selling tea or they're working in somebody's houses. And even these kids, after their school, they would be working and helping their mom and helping their go and finish housework, and or helping their father iron clothes because they would have an iron shop. And they felt like it was a responsibility to become an engineer, or take up a professional education, and they didn't believe that music is something that they could do. And they felt like if you have to be a musician, you have to belong to a family of musicians. Even a lot of times the doctors think that, right? Like a doctor's son is a doctor most of the time, a doctor's daughter is a doctor most of the time, and you tend to take on like that. And these kids didn't believe in their heart that they could actually become musicians. If that was the first point of intervention that Antano and I did with them, is I remember that session, by the end of it, they were in tears, because for them, even though they were telling themselves consciously, I'm going to be a musician, I'm going to be a musician, they've had so many people come and give them motivation and all of that. But at the end of it, they felt like this is it, and it's happening. Not it can happen, it's happening. And that they can do it as well. And after that, we started working on, their memory, their capability to remember, their capability to learn when the master is playing so that they can grasp really quickly. And everything changed when deep down they believed in their heart. When there's that conscious and unconscious complete alignment in one direction, it's not like one part is fighting with another part, but there's complete congruence from deep within that I'm making it. That's it. I'm doing it. It's there. It's ready. It's happening. It's an opportunity. I have been blessed, and it's been given to me. And it's okay whether I have goofed up, whether I've done well, whether I've studied, whether I've been able to remember or not. But here's a moment where there is sufficient time and I'm making it because I'm in it for the larger purpose of why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this just because I want to write an exam, but I'm doing it like you said. I'm here to cure people. I'm like the life that you're leading when thousands and thousands and thousands of people have cured with your hands, and how their lives have changed. It's remarkable when you can go into life from there and look back and see the kind of impact that each and everybody here is creating in this world.
So that's the secret number three. And that is that your inner belief. If you have to say, I believe, it's probably you're not already there. But I think what I can help you with with this particular point is we can give you some markers to know if you have inner belief or not. Like Vani clearly said, when you have belief, you're automatically thinking about what's next. I can cure people. So also the language. When you heard Harini speak, with these children, with the orchestra, I am a doctor is different from. So let's start with the exam right now. So I will study is different from I am studying. And I think when you are using language, see, a lot of times in corporate trainings, I've noticed this specifically, and nowadays it's moving into coaching exams as well. People try to force you to change. Don't say if, use when. But my proposal is use that as a validation for yourself, or test what's the language that is coming automatically. Because language is an unconscious process. You may speak something, every sentence that you speak has a multitude of decisions and processing that's happening so automatically in the back of your head that when the words come out, they're like a reflection of all the things in your subconscious mind. And one of the easiest ways in which you can know are you certain or not is paying attention to your tense. So Vani might be able to translate this in Hindi for you, but instead of saying I will study, I can study, I should study, I need to study, and words like need and should may put pressure on you, but not necessarily improve the certainty. So there's a big difference in the way your body feels when you say I need to study, I should study, I have to study, I will study, versus I'm studying easily, I'm studying comfortably. How do you say
पढ़ना चाहिए, मेरे को पढ़ना है और मैं पढ़ रही हूँ या मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ. This is phenomenal. This is like, oh my god. For example, I'm not told this to the large audience, but it's a day of so many firsts. I'm also doing my higher education for one of the premier institutes of India, so I'm pursuing a leadership course from XLRI, and every Saturday or Sunday they give us these exams. Okay, so my Fridays are like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I have an exam, oh my god, I have an exam. I'm just like, but yes, and then you got to tell yourself, I am studying. I've already cleared the exam. I'm already done. It's just the shift.
Yeah. So when you're imagining, it's a future present. When you are talking about the present, it's a present tense. I am studying. I'm doing good. So yes, a lot of times the automatic language, the tense, if you can just start listening to your tense, there's a lot you'll understand about humans. I'm pretty sure it's helpful for you for your NEET exam, but also I think generally in communication, if you can listen to people's talk and the tense they use, and also what you call as model operators, the should and the want and the have, you kind of have a clear idea of how people have organized themselves. And I think you need to stay away from organizing yourself in a way that motivates using fear. I should, I need are model operators that leverage fear to get you to motivate. So you want to change that to I can, I am. So these are model operators of possibilities, and and not artificially. So let's say you're using yourself, you find yourself saying, "Oh, I should study." Then you need to just step out and ask yourself the question: what is it? Why is that pressure the only way I seem to motivate myself to study? How can I make that more enjoyable? Yes. In fact, when I look at your videos, they're so much fun to listen to. Like, especially your evolution video. Like, then the dinosaurs getting extinct, and it's like a movie. It's like when it's not I have to study, but you're like I'm learning easily. I can enjoy studying, and then you take a complex subject and it becomes a movie in your head. The brain chemistry is going to be very, very, very different. But the trick is not to trick it. It's not sufficient if you change the language. It's not sufficient that you feel relaxed when you're reading the book. It has to be a lifestyle. And especially if you have just a month away, no matter where you are, I've seen neuroplasticity happen in weeks for people, in physical conditions. We've seen people, where their lungs are failing and they're about to, doctors have said they won't survive the next day in the morning. A simple shift in their attitude, just changing the total response of the body overnight. So when you think of the magnanimity of what the human neurology is capable of, as a species, we are so superior. Like I remember taking care of an eagle that was being attacked by crows. It was a baby eagle, like 3, 4 years, 3, 4 days, I think, and it couldn't fly. So we rescued it and we were taking care of it. The people from the wildlife department came and said that it's going to take a while, at least 10 days before this thing flies. So we were feeding it, and on the third day, it tried flying. It jumped and it fell down, and it would jump and fall down. It's a routine practice. So we were feeding it again like every other day, and it tried this for a few times. But this time while we were feeding it, out of nowhere, a crow came rushing down at the eagle, like with so much fierce anger, as if it's going to kill that eagle. And the eagle jumped and did the same maneuver again, which it failed so many times. But this time, the eagle took flight. I saw with my eyes. The crow was chasing it, and the more the crow was chasing, something in the neurology of the eagle kicked in that moment, giving it wings.
So nice. I truly wish every child of the subcontinent has access to the kind of phenomenal, liberating work that it's all about the shift. You said that we're such a superior species. In so many of your articles, I've read that article, but the moment you said it, and with the kind of kind conviction you said it so subtly, but it made such a deep impact. We are, this between our 2 years, this beautiful gift of divine that we have, it's
Mhm.
so powerful. It's
It is.
just that we must realize the innate capabilities that it has,
Yes.
and have the right tools to maneuver it and take it on the right path. If by any chance the society or our parents or our upbringing has somehow not really conditioned it in the right way, then
Yes.
have the wisdom to know, the discretion to know what is right and what is not, and to be able to pick up the right things. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's lovely.
So, Vani, that is good. I'm glad that um, you see the beauty in that. Is that a long time ago, I actually told someone, you know, aren't we the superior species? So if a dog can smell things, shouldn't we be able to? And we did a whole set of research on it, and I came to the conclusion that we can smell just as much as how dogs could. And this was just based on not neuroscience, it was based on my observations with people. But I was so surprised when 2 years ago there was a research paper that published that we have more number of cells to detect smell than dogs do. But they're covered on top with so many other gifts and capabilities that these are not utilized as much. And when an eagle knows in that moment what's important and how to take flight, and if its body can turn around miraculously, it's not surprising that you hear stories of a grandmother who could lift a car to save her grandchild from being trapped in. There's so much in our neurology that's packed in. Like when you think about the universe and the Big Bang, it's like a moment, and that tiny dot, is invisible dot, there was so much packed in that it's still unfolding as a universe. It's still expanding. A tiny cell can come together and become an entire person. There's so much packed in a neurology that's just waiting to unfold the right context, the right movement, and more importantly, the right purpose. So the purpose and beliefs are always connected. And that's why I think it's a double win to look at what you're going to do after you become a doctor. And if the focus is money, then it's not going to work. Because they did this thing with IT programmers. They had this experiment done where they were rewarding people to finish work early. So for one team, they gave the reward of going on a vacation. For another team, they gave the reward of taking their family and going on a vacation. For another team, they gave a bonus. For another team, they gave a better role. Now, people who were given a vacation, they finished it on time. People who were given a better role, they finished it on time. People who were given money, they took twice the time it actually takes to finish it because stress started building up instead of the reward being a reward. What was interesting about this research was the group of people who were, given the gift of bonus of traveling with their family on the vacation, finished it faster than anybody else. So not only is it the presupposition to look at what's going to happen after you become a doctor, but it also connects with the rest of you as a species because we are more than just the body. And that gives you something that makes it possible to do miraculous outcomes. So the easiest shortcut to deeper belief is have a stronger purpose and look at how you're impacting lives as a doctor. And I think your neurology will work with you and make this on an autopilot.
Oh, lovely. Purpose it is, yes. Because I always feel that it is there's a person that I've started to follow now, and I found him
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal. I haven't really talked to these kids about him. His name is Simon Sinek,
Mm-hmm.
and he's written this beautiful book, which is the why, and he often talks about find out the why. So he's a person who talks to business leaders, and he always says that whenever you're doing something, tell me the why of it. And then he relates it to the human brain and tells that the center of the human brain is amygdala, which
Mm-hmm.
is the emotional headquarters of the brain. So every single time you would want to do well or you would want to form a connect with somebody, it's very important that you connect with the why because that's how humans are also hardwired. Not with what, not with how, but the why of it. And your why is your passion and your purpose, which defines how
Yeah.
what you do it.
Exactly. So that is very important. Now the challenge for a lot of people is they don't know how to move from what is pressing and immediate for them in their mind to why the larger purpose of it. So it's like an alcoholic when he says he's not going to drink but in the end of the night is going to have an involuntary response, is going to go back to drinking. A lot of people can understand that they need to put their attention on the larger purpose that will relax them, that will ease them out. Where a lot of people get stuck is they don't know how to interrupt that pattern. So, people have understood now why they need to have their focus on the purpose. They've understood why they need to sleep better. They understand why they have to have a good emotional response during the day so that they can sleep better, so that they can have meditative sleep. They understand all of this. Now, where I see a lot of people struggling is converting this to, okay, but I want to do it. I'm unable to do it. It's beyond my conscious control. And I think so. What we have, and this is the first time we're doing this, is Arnie and I were just before this live, just discussing, is there something we can do for the students that can actually help like a 10,000 students, to get an outcome, a win, an advantage from a session where they could transform. And the biggest obstacle that Harini and I had to solve was all our programs are like one-on-one, and it's so expensive because the specialists we have trained are expensive even for the organization to afford, and our programs cost like 1 lakh. So we were like really wondering, what do
Ask
we do?
me, I've been wanting to do it for such a long time. Yes, but I love what you're wanting to do, kids. So here, I would request Antano and Harini to explain
Mhm.
it more, but they have an offer for you, which could truly be life changing. So yes, yes, please, yes.
Okay, so thanks. What I find your name very interesting. The second part of the suit, is that a family name? Because it's the first time I've come up with a name.
Come again? Yes, that's my family name. Yes, yes,
That's your family name?
yes,
Okay. If all the people we've worked with, I've never come across a person with that family name before.
yes.
Um,
I belong to Himachal.
mhm.
So that's so. The otherwise you would have heard SOODs.
Yeah,
There is a
yeah.
special sector of suits who come from Himachal, and we write it like this. Yes, that's my
Okay, sure. Thanks, Vani.
welcome.
So Hari and I were really thinking about what can we do, and then we came up with this idea that maybe we could do a group session, which we generally don't. We have the only time we did a group session was for the Rahman kids, but even that was like group in the beginning, and it was a one-on-one. And so what we thought is maybe we can do a group session for the people who are watching this or who going to come through this channel, where we could help them get confidence, we could help them get overcome hesitation, overcome distraction, help them sleep better. And so I'm thinking about a group session for 4 hours. So where with installations, they can actually get better focus, they can get better clarity, they can overcome hesitation. And I'm also thinking, along with that, we can give them something that just before the exam, if they were to listen to it, it helps them, their unconscious, to recollect everything that they learned and go more in a state of readiness to the exam than a state of fear. And also, Hari and I have already been designing, because of the corona, what we call as trance inductions that can help a person relax, be stress free, and get better quality of sleep. So we are thinking about a 4,000 plus GST for your students, and they're going to get 4 hours of installation live, where we see them actually in the way we do virtual events, where they go through a breakthrough. They get a breakthrough in their limiting emotion, their focus, wherever it is. They get continuous access to transcendentions, that 20 minutes anytime when they want to relax and just let their unconscious activate. And also something that helps them just before the exam, because people who do Olympics, for example, they practice certain rituals before the final performance. That's why they break record during the final performance, which doesn't happen during the practice session. So there's a way in which you activate your entire neurology to support you to that. So we are thinking about making this available in so the students who are interested could go to excellenceinstallation.com/NEET, NEET, and they would be able to
Oh,
grab this offer
lovely.
in the next 3 days. Yes, Vani. So this is really off the hat. We just
Yes,
made
this
this.
just happened 10 minutes before the session, and I feel this is super phenomenal. This is such a big giveaway, kids. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it even more easier for you. So right
Mhm.
in the description box, I will put the link there for them. And yes, look at them going ballistic there in the chat section. All of them, they're like, we wanted. And knowing them, knowing the kind of work that they do, I can vouch for it that it is going to be transformational. It is going to be something which you've never experienced before, and it's going to be also at a price which is very affordable. Yes,
So it's not so this particular session is not going to be a lecture.
yes,
It's not going to be where we're going to talk to you and tell you what to do. It's going to be where you're actually experiencing real transformation. It's going to be excellence installations live. And for that, I need to see every single person out there in my screen. So so we have a
yes,
setup where we'll have, you could be sitting in your home, and I'll be seeing you and performing these installations live. And these installations are not where you do something today and then you have to do something again the next day and then again the next day. No, it's a one time thing where there's a permanent change from within, especially if you have some doubts, some fears, hesitation, nervousness, anxiety, stress, not able to remember. There's so much to do, this pressure, not able to remember. I'm not sure if I'll be able to cover everything. This everybody here has a unique thing. It's not the same challenge that everybody has. This 4-hour session that we've planned for you of pure installations live is going to be where each and every person, it's going to be personalized for each person. So it's not like a one size fits all. Okay, same mantra, same thing for everybody. No, the procedures. Okay, so because this is like these are procedures that we do, and these procedures are personalized for each individual, which we'll guide you through. And by the end of, I think in 4 hours, we'll at least be able to do like 2 really solid procedures, which are massive, as in massive impact. And that's going to be live with me, with Antano and me, one-on-one. One-on-one as in one-on-one in the group where I can see each of you. And in addition to that, if you ever find yourself getting stressed or low or worried or not able to get good sleep or any of that, we'll give you trance inductions and audio inductions that Antano and I have recorded exclusively to help, and it's helped like thousands of people really change their mindset, change their state of mind, change their frame of mind in a way that it naturally puts them in like a really useful state and in preparation for the next day. And in addition to that, we'll also give you, that something where, okay, you've put in so much hard work, you've put in so much effort, but it's all going to boil down to that moment when you're actually going to write the exam. What if your subconscious can work for you in a way that you can bring in all of it and make it count in that moment where it matters most? So everything that you need for that. So we've sort of, designed it in this kind of an ornament in a way that you get the major breakthrough in the first 4 hours. And then as and when you need it, you also have them on demand when you need it. And then just before the Olympics finale, you have, you have that really powerful thing that you can each listen to from your home and benefit by using your true inner gift and to bring it out at the max and make it count. Because I know, how much is in it for everybody, why they're all preparing, why they're all here, why they're all putting in all of their efforts and everything to be here. And the intention that for Antano and me is to, how do we help you in this crucial moment, put it together, no matter where you are, no matter how much you've come forward in your journey. We'll help you individually go through your unique challenges and help you get a very significant breakthrough that'll just ease things up for you and make this journey of becoming a doctor very delightful.
Thank you so much. This entire session was very delightful, and I'm sure this is just the beginning. Is what I can actually.
It is. In the beginning of the call, I mentioned that I'm going to share at the end the specific work I did with Harini. So
as to how he helped me remember lyrics.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to share.
Yes, that's what we are waiting for. Yes.
Yeah. So the offer is 4,000 rupees. If you missed it, go to the website. It's available for 3 days. You can get it. Now, the stuff that I did with Harini is, okay, I'm going to give you the largest structure of what I did. I won't be able to explain the exact method and how I made that happen, but I can give you a shortcut that could give you that kind of result over a period of time. Okay, so the larger method of what I did with Harini is, you notice what is already working. So these are called unconscious patternings, right? So there are things that you do, you don't know you do. So there are a few songs that Harini remembers really well. Like, if I ask her about her favorite song or the national anthem, she doesn't have to prepare. She just knows it. Now, how do you notice? How does she remember those songs differently from the way she's remembering a new song? So if you pay attention to the eye movements, you can notice a lot. Like, for example, when people make images, the eyes go up. When they hear things, they inside their head, the eyes goes in the center. When people are paying attention to how they feel in their body, the eyes go down right. When people talk to themselves, they look down left. Now, when people are remembering images as well, if you pay attention to the eyes, you can notice where they're putting things. How big are they seeing it? So, if I were to ask you to spell for me encyclopedia, and if you just spell the word encyclopedia, and if I ask you to pause and point at the letters, each of you may have noticed unconsciously you actually see the letters. That's how you spell. A lot of good spellers, unless you're in a language like Hindi, where it's isomorphic. Your tense matches the characters. In a language like English, it's not isomorphic, which means you have to see images. You can't say encyclopedia, and you can't say it that way because it doesn't work for all the words. So a lot of good spellers see images, but it's unconscious. You don't even know you're seeing images until I brought it to your attention. And some people see small letters, some people see big letters. Now, for some people, small letters means better memory. For some people, bigger letters means better memory. For some people, if they see it here, they remember it better. For some people, if they see it there, they remember it better. So you could either do this by yourself, think about something that you remember well, and figure out what are the characteristics in which you remember that image. Now remember, this is an unconscious process. You don't even know you're seeing pictures in your head because it happens so fast. But you're able to catch an unconscious process and you're able to consciously analyze it. So you get the structure of what is working. So in Harini's case, I had to find out, based on the submodalities, and I noticed how she remembers songs so well. How does she see the lyrics? And there was a contrast difference between the songs she forgets and the songs that she remembers well. All I had to do was go through a specific process of NLP that teaches the unconscious mind to take the process that works, the size, the distance, the shape that she doesn't forget, and recode all of the lyrics that she's learning, remembering differently with the same attributes. And it's like you're finding an unconscious process that works, and you're allowing the unconscious to take charge and responsibility for replicating that for things where it isn't working already. Okay. Now, as I said, the overall strategy is that, and you may or may not be able to do this by yourself, but here's something you can do. There are things that you do really well. There are things that you remember already well. And there are moments in life when it might just be that one paragraph. You learned it, and for some magical reason, the moment you read it, it's gone inside and you know it. Celebrate. That moment, celebrate. Get up from there, celebrate. If necessary, go eat a sweet or, shout it out. Make a joyful sound. Your unconscious does not necessarily understand words as much as expressions. So jump around or make a joyful sound. Go woo-hoo, like, eat, smile. And go tell your friends, hey, I just learned something. It went straight into my head. It doesn't matter. It's just a paragraph. You knew that paragraph went differently inside. The moment you celebrate, your unconscious understands, do more of this. So you might notice the next day, it's doing more of it. More small paragraphs are going inside your head so easily, like that thing happened by chance. But the moment you celebrate it, it starts happening by design. This is why in the Indian culture, we have the tradition of celebrating good things with sweets, because your neurology gets the message. Do more of this. And it doesn't matter if it's a line, if it's a small thing. The moment you know the strategy, something magical happened, you express and celebrate it out loud.
Oh, lovely. That calls for a celebration then. I remember something you, oh, lovely. Oh, lovely. Oh, lovely. I was just trying to observe. I'll have to listen to it again because, like, the way encyclopedia, right? But these kids are so smart. They would understand. They were like, yes, yes, that's exactly what happens. Just look at the chat section. Go up with the hearts. You'll be like,
Wow.
they're just wow. This is so amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It is with utmost pride and extreme privilege that I'm hosting both of you. And stalwarts of your industry and industry leaders, creators of your industry. And there's so much more that I can use for you. But today it was an absolutely eye-opening, humbling, profound, and also at the same time extremely enabling for me to know beauty and the capability of the human brain, and as you said, the superior capability that what would remain with me, so will purpose, belief, and the power of belief. But we will not let you go, Harini, without a song that is one thing which you would please
I
guide
lost your
us.
sound right now. Your screen is frozen. Check. Can we hear her here?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
The screen is frozen, Vani, so I'm not able to see or hear
I'm
you.
sorry, but we can hear you.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. For a few moments, the screen was frozen, so I couldn't hear you or see you. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Over to you. Yes.
I couldn't hear you at that moment because
we're not letting you go without a beautiful song. So would you please oblige us, please? Thank you so much. That'll be so nice of you.
Definitely. So here's a song for everybody. There's a hero. If you look inside your heart, you don't have to be afraid of what you are. There's an answer if you reach into your soul, and the sorrow that you know will melt away. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong. And you finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you, that a hero lies in you.
Oh my God, this was some icing on the cake. The cherry on top. I'm sorry to say that, Antano. She's absolutely. This is so amazing. This is
It
after
is,
such a
luckily.
long time. I think back in my college I used to hear the song. After such a long time I've seen, and you aced it better than Mariah Carey. Let me tell you that. Yes, this is so amazing. This is so amazing. Thank you. The words should always fall short. It was a beautiful lecture. I wish it would just go in 1.5 hours. I didn't even realize time just you compressed time here as well. If I can say that. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
so
Vani. It was
much.
such a pleasure. And see you, all of you who've been watching this. I hope I see you as doctors someday, because I think there's a lot of need for patients in the medic. So much doctors can do with the mind. And these days, when everybody's becoming super specialists, I think there's a new generation of doctors who are coming up who are seeing humans holistically. So I wish to see you one day and work with you as a fellow researcher while you're helping mankind. See you soon.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure. Thank you. The pleasure is truly ours. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you. We'll end it up then. Thank you so much.
See you. Bye.